Lars Mapstead, thanks for being here. We are in a makeshift studio,
Very makeshift.
very makeshift, in the back of the VFW.
Yep.
We got scurried out of the dining room, which had been our original plan, but thank you for being flexible and for being here. Tell us where we are. And by the way, how did you get here?
Yeah. So actually, I just talked to this is like you said the VFW, and I just talked to the head of the VFW here, and I learned that
Post 5290.
he was yes, and he was in the Vietnam War and in Operation Iraq in one of the Iraq uh, things, and so we talked a little bit about that, and he is a political science major or teacher, I guess, and
Yep.
so he was schooling us on the difference between. He doesn't like the federal government being called the federal government because he believes that state, local, and the national government are the
Yeah.
federal government. So he likes to call
Ah,
it the national government,
uh-huh.
which was
Does he believe in decentralization the way that we do and pushing
I'm not.
power
I
down?
don't think we got that far,
Maybe we better get him on here next.
yeah, but I really appreciated his service to our country, and
Absolutely.
I had a grandfather that was in both the Korean War and the Vietnam War, and I had another grandfather who was in World War II, and so
Hmm.
I really appreciate when we have um, people that served our country, and so it was good to talk to him. Yeah,
Absolutely. And their patriotism has to be respected.
100%.
And sometimes that's one of the things you and I obviously spend a lot of time talking about how we need to change our defense posture and how we use the Defense Department and the ridiculous defense budget. One of the things that I do find heartbreaking is that there are so many young men and women who are willing to do so much for our country, and I feel like that their patriotism is sometimes squandered on projects that are not in our national interest and
Yeah,
are
yeah.
deadly and a waste.
I'm tired of the government taking money from me and then using that money to drop bombs on kids in faraway lands, right? And I think that there's probably no one in America that thinks that's a great thing, right?
That is well said.
And so it's one of the
I'm
reasons.
not certain there's no one in America who thinks it's a great thing, but
Well, Nikki Haley,
very few.
maybe Nikki
Okay,
Haley,
Nikki and
she
a
might,
few of her
yeah,
supporters,
she might
right?
like it, but I just feel like that's one of the things that is why I'm a libertarian is I don't like my money being stolen from me and then used in nefarious ways or ways that I would never spend my money. And
They don't align with your values.
that's the government coercion. That is that coercion that we talk about that I'm really trying to do away with. The
Yeah.
least amount of that kind of stuff in anyone's life, I think, is the critical thing that we're all trying
Well
for.
said. Do you suppose, I say often, and I'm interested in your take on whether I'm just optimistic or in la la land, do you suppose that more Americans are ready for a real full-throated anti-war message this year than in past?
Unfortunately, I feel like this has become a political football game again. It's similar to the way COVID became a political football game, and it almost doesn't need to be.
Yeah,
But the powers that be fan the flames and have created left-right issues in every single war that we have.
yeah,
Right? You see a protest, and you can tell which side which team is on, and it's literally like there shouldn't be a side. Like
right, right,
everybody should be on the side of less death. Everybody should
right,
be on the side of
right.
not people dying around the world, not having our money spent on killing people or propping up people to kill other people. I mean, that's where we should be. Instead, they're fighting each other on which side of the war we should be supporting, right? Like, so I feel like we're not ready for an anti-war movement.
It does feel that way
They're
sometimes.
literally promoting one side or the other winning the war, and it's
Yeah.
like why are we in this? No,
Yeah.
we need to be.
Well, let's be optimistic that Americans, at least, there's an underlying anti-war sentiment
Yes.
underneath the political duopoly.
Well, certainly libertarians are trying, right?
We are
But
trying.
we need to raise our voice. We need to get more people active in the Libertarian Party and more people active in promoting anti-war and promoting peace
Agreed.
and
Well
free
said.
markets around the world, right?
Yeah.
Because the free market is the answer to lifting everybody up around the world, and the more we can promote free market worldwide, it doesn't cost
As
us
has
anything.
been proven.
It doesn't cost us
As has
anything,
been
right?
proven.
100%. I mean,
Empirically.
that's
Right.
that's how the Berlin Wall fell, right? The
That's
Berlin
right.
Wall didn't fall because somebody pointed a tank gun at them or pointed a weapon at them. It fell because economics required them to fall apart, and do something different because they got tired of living the way that they were living, right?
Their economic manifest
And
destiny.
you see that in Argentina right now, right?
Yes.
Like they were one of the world's fastest growing countries. Then they went full socialist, and they bred mediocrity. Now they've sloughed that off, and they're moving back into a more market driven economy. And I'm hopeful that that will bear fruits for their people, and they'll be less oppressed, and they'll be more free, because when you have economic freedom, you have freedom.
Yes.
When you can't get off the ground and you can't provide food for your family, you can't lift yourself up out of the poverty. You are reliant on government subsistence. You know that is not freedom, right? When you are locked into poverty, that is not freedom.
Agreed.
And so
Agreed.
that's why I'm for the market, because I see the market as the best way for people to get out of economic
and to
disparity.
your point, Argentina was a very wealthy country.
Yes.
At one point, the fifth highest per capita GDP in the world 100 years ago,
Yep.
just about exactly 100 years ago, and has been on a decline because of socialism.
Yeah, it's that I say government breeds mediocrity, and the more government we have, the more mediocre we become.
Well said.
And
now,
I feel
speaking of things
yeah.
on which we should all Americans should agree, not just you and me, but you and I do agree on this, but everyone should agree on it. I want you to tell us about your voter bill of rights,
Yep.
because I think it's a very exciting project. I know a lot of people have read about it, but I want to get the word out a little bit more because I think it's a very cool thing. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate this interview because this Voters Bill of Rights is nonpartisan, and it works for all the candidates. I actually want every Libertarian candidate to pick this up and run with it.
Oh, I tell everyone it was my idea.
And I'm fine with that, actually.
Yeah.
I want everybody to champion this.
And I wish you would stop editing your website, because I keep stealing stuff, and now it just makes it harder.
It makes it more challenging, right?
Right.
So essentially, I always knew that our election system was rigged. And my whole campaign is about unrigging the system, obviously.
Yes.
All my life,
a great theme.
Thank you. All my life, I felt like we had the illusion of choice, and one of the reasons I ran for president is I wanted to offer another choice and another voice, right?
Right.
And that's really one of the main reasons why I wanted to run, is because I feel like I have some ideas that maybe will resonate with people, and maybe we can launch some kind of change in America and bring freedom to people. And so. But what I quickly started to realize was the system is far more rigged than I ever imagined, and especially our election system. And
it's hard to appreciate until you start digging in, huh?
Right. Well, it's nerdy stuff, so nobody cares until they have to run, and they're like,
until something goes wrong.
Wait a minute, what's the deal here, right? And so,
well, tell us a couple of particulars about the Bill of Rights.
Yeah. So the Voters' Bill of Rights essentially is to level the playing field and make things fair and equal. My whole campaign is about common sense, practical solutions to fix America, right? We can't have a functioning republic if we don't have free and fair elections. And right now our elections are run by two private corporations, the RNC and the DNC. And as long as we have private corporations running our country's elections, we don't have a functioning republic, in my opinion, right? So the Voters' Bill of Rights
doesn't function very well anyway.
Right. The Voters' Bill of Rights aims to fix that. So piece one is very simple. If you can't get on the ballot, you can't win. If you can't get on the ballot and win, you can't affect change in the country. So
you can't force that change.
So the duopoly gate keeps us and all other independent candidates by having various ballot access laws across the country. And so the Voters' Bill of Rights aims to make the ballot access equal, regardless of party or affiliation. So that if you want to run as a libertarian, you want to run as an independent, it's the same requirements as running as a Democrat or a Republican. And we limit it to 1%.
Makes too much sense.
Yeah. That you can pay a fee of 1% of the salary of the office that you're running for, or 1,000 signatures. And that's the same for everybody. And that's the way that should be. And when I tell people that it's not the same,
that's wholly reasonable.
People say that's not American. It's
Agreed.
It's not American.
It doesn't align with our values.
It's a rigged system, right? So another thing that we all agree on is that gerrymandering is a completely rigged system where they draw little maps and they carve out your house to make sure that you vote.
But to be fair, it's rigged by one side, then the other. So it's fair.
Yeah, well,
right,
it depends
Lars?
on which state it's in, and then and then they all say that it's the other guys that rigged the system, right? But they're all doing it, right? And that's why we have essentially like a 20% popularity rating among our Congress people, but we have an 80% re-election rate because they've completely rigged it to make it so that they can keep winning and winning and winning.
Tell me how you feel. You and I have not chatted about the following question before, so I apologize if you hate this question. I personally hate this question, but I've had to answer it. How do you feel about term limits?
I am a fan of term limits, and part of that is that I don't believe politicians should be a career.
Right.
I believe that it should be a service position,
Yeah.
and I don't think that. I know all the arguments why we should have people in office for a long time, but I go back to this simple story that I tell, which is I went to Independence Hall in Philadelphia, and the ranger was taking us through and touring and said, "This is where Congress originally met." There was 26 chairs or whatever it was.
Right,
and
right.
And she said the people came here for 3 months out of the year, and
Yep.
then they went back to their regular jobs because
Right.
this was a service position.
That's right.
And when I heard that,
and you got pressed into it. You didn't beg for it. You got pressed into it.
And that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Right.
That like what we need to do is restore America's political system and all the bureaucrats to a service position because we pay for them. They should be serving us, not
Absolutely.
us serving them.
Well, I love that answer. And I appreciate you did flag that term limits has people that make arguments on the other side, right?
Yes.
As libertarians, we of course believe that you should be able to vote for whatever nincompoop you want to vote for, even if it's the same nincompoop over and over again, which is why I often characterize term limits as a bad idea, but a bad idea whose time has come.
I mean, I think that you could also solve this problem by having open primaries, by having lots more options on the ballot. But right now,
the incumbency is such a powerful tool for corruption.
No one even runs against them.
No.
Right? But if you had more open primary, if you had easier ballot access, maybe...
And now you and I are running against two incumbents for all practical purposes, in the
yes.
Donald and the Joe,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, not that they have any advantages. So, speaking of ballot access, you recently led, with a lot of other folks, but I know you had a major role in gaining ballot access for Maine.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, one of my plans is...
And thank you, by the way. It's a big deal.
My
big
pleasure.
Deal.
One of the plans that I have is to win an electoral vote. And the easy states to do that is Maine and Nebraska.
Right.
So I immediately went to Maine and said, hey, I want to make sure that I'm on the ballot here in Maine. What do we got to do? And they said, well, we don't have ballot access.
Because it doesn't work if we don't have ballot access.
That's right.
All the best laid plans,
that's right? That's right. We have to have the foundation to even, like I said, if you don't have ballot access, you can't win, right? And so we have to start there by fixing that, right? So, So I approached them and said, well, we don't have ballot access. And then he told me the story of how the Secretary of State deleted all the libertarians off the voter rolls and said they were stale. But there was no stale Democrats or Republicans.
No.
Right?
Well, they're very fresh.
I mean, Joe Biden and Donald Trump aren't stale.
No.
They represent the youth of America.
Right.
So, and so, they told me we don't have ballot access and we have to get 5,000 registered libertarians in order to do that. And I said, okay, well, how are you on track? Well, we might do it, but we definitely need some more money. So I gave them some money straight away on that. And then I thought, well, I'll go up there and I'll do boots on the ground and I'll just start registering people. How hard can it be?
Right.
Well, I got there and I quickly learned that it's really hard.
It is
and
hard.
That you need professional help if you want to do this, right? So, and that professional help costs money.
I've spent a lot of time standing in Walmart parking lots. I know what you're talking about. Right. It is hard work.
It's hard work. And especially registering somebody as opposed to getting them to sign something. It's like another level of hardship, right?
And all that information has to line up with whatever the executive or the state has in the database, right?
And clearly they're not...
predisposed to believing you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they don't really care about the libertarians, right? So essentially what happened was we realized we weren't going to make it. And we had like 60 days left to go in the middle of winter with Christmas coming up. And it was
prime time.
I don't think this is going to work, right? Like we're screwed. So how many people can we get in here? Can we get some other fellows to chip in money too? Because we really need probably like $40,000 or $50,000 to make this happen. And we've got 30 days to make it happen, 40 days or something like that. Right. So I put in $25,000 of my own money on top of the money that I had already put in.
Yeah, good for you.
And then we were able to get some big heavy hitters, Bill Redpath. And
Bill's terrific.
And
no one is more expert than Bill at many of these topics.
Yeah.
So that's great.
And so we got these guys together, we put the money in there, and we were actually able to get it across the line. And so now Maine has major party status, which means that they don't have to, they don't have to jump through as many hoops to get on the ballot. Anybody, it's not just for the presidential candidate, like you or I, if we win the nomination, now we're just going to be on the ballot, which is amazing, right?
It's
so
awesome.
What I like about this is that it's, my candidacy is more about leaving a legacy, about changing things for the party, doing things that can move the party forward, because I feel like the 50 years that we've had, we continue to get 1 to 3% of the vote, and we're not affecting change, right? So I want to bring things forward that are going to affect change for the long term, not just for me and my candidacy.
No. It's not about us, Lars.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah. I mean, if it was about us, I would have run.
Oh boy.
I would have run for as a Republican or a Democrat, where I would have got the limelight, right?
Right.
Instead, I'm in the VFW in the
storage room,
in the storage room,
back room.
Being interviewed by my teammate, Mike Tremont, right? So yeah.
I mean, this is nice, but we're not in CNN.
You're not Howard Cosell.
No,
you're not.
But working on it.
Yes.
That is that's a name from the past that not all of our viewers will recognize.
One interview at a time.
One interview at a time. Well, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
We're going to spend the rest of the day at the LP Georgia.
Yep.
And then, as I understand, you're going to be on the road a little bit because we got to be in Alabama.
Yes.
Right.
And so I thought
You're from California.
Yeah.
You're not flying back and forth.
No. I decided I would come and try to stump in your old turf in Florida.
Florida. Good.
And reach some of those people, and then I'm going to go visit my good friend Michael White in Arkansas.
Nice.
Who ran for Congress and is an amazing debater.
Yep.
And we're gonna break bread down there and have a good time. So
excellent.
Yeah, and then I'll be back for Alabama and see you in a week, because I know you miss me.
Nancy will be with you.
Oh, very nice.
And she does miss you. I don't actually miss you,
no.
But Nancy does, and she says hello, and she'll see you in Alabama.
Awesome.
Lars, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are you recording us to make sure I don't edit out anything that's really good?
Yeah.
That's probably a good idea.
Keep you honest, right?
That's probably
Well, he said he was taking me to the storage room, and I thought...
Trust but verify, Mike. Trust but verify.